Hey, what's up guys? Today we're going to be talking about how to properly and efficiently price your video content. So let's get to it. If you want to make more of this, you're going to need to implement actual sales tactics in your business. So I'm going to show you this book from my university. The author is Gregory A. Rich. I didn't enjoy a lot of my classes in university, but one of the classes that I found so helpful and so vital that I still carry the book with me was Salesforce management. So I will take some tips from this book and show you a year and plus years of education so you can make sure you get the maximum profit for your video work and you have a good time. So let's get started on the tips. Tip number 1, need assessments. Never, ever, ever bundle your video packages together. It is one of the most worst ideas you can have in your business. When you start your business, you don't know what your client wants, and each person's needs are different. So that means some of them are going to ask you to do this much work, and some of them are going to ask you to do this much work. And you should not get paid for both of those for the same price. You don't want to get paid the lower price for the more work. So figuring out what your client's need assessment is will get you the most maximum profits. For example, let's say your client wants a video from you or maybe a photo shoot. Try to figure out how many photos they want, how long the video is. Do they expect special effects? Do they want 5 minutes or 1 minute? When you figure that out, it's much easier to give a price, but you're not going to give a price on your first step. Let's go to part 2 and I'll explain more. Part 2, the presentation. So the presentation is almost the biggest, most vital part of the sales pitch. And the best way I can explain it is you're trying to show what you're made out of. Maybe showing them your director's reel, maybe testimonials, explaining to them in a way where you can make them feel your value. So basically, you're putting a dollar price on yourself. And if you communicate this part properly, you'll have a much easier process in part 3 and part 4. So let's talk about part 2 more. So the presentation is very simple. You're presenting, you're showing them your skills, your professionalism, and basically you are putting a dollar price in their head before you even quote them. You're not going to quote them in part 1 or part 2. This part is for them to see who you are, how professional you are, how you handle your business, and all of that cohesively comes together in their mind, and they will put a price on you. Are you the Louis Vuitton of videographers, or are you the 99-cent store brand that's trying to take as much money from them as possible? When you are doing your presentation, it's critical to show them your past work, your portfolio, showing them how hard you've worked and what the quality of your footages are going to be. Throw in the drone, the 4K, and all the other stuff that you need to. This part right here is sales. So the communication you do right now, talking about yourself, is one of the most vital parts for them to recognize you as an artist. Let's go to the next part. I'll explain more. Part 3, meeting objections. Some objections could be, they're too lazy. I can't afford that. That's too expensive. Anything that they come up with. Remember, it's not a no unless they say no. Right now, these people, this client, whoever is coming to you for services, is ready to spend money. Remember, don't think with your wallet. Think with their wallet. So, in this part, they're gonna throw you, that's too expensive, or this is this, or this is that. If they do have a objection, it comes from your lack of effort or your proper installment in part 2. So basically what is happening is that they don't think you're worth the price you think you're worth. In order to communicate your price properly, you have to do this in part 2, the presentation. If your presentation is super well done and you executed it professionally, whatever price you give, you should be able to get an approval. Now, if you're not getting approval and you're getting pushback, that's because in need assessments, you did not fully recognize their issues and how to solve them. In part 2, you did not accurately give yourself as the solution. If they have a problem, you have to meet them with a solution that they can be happy with. So when someone has a problem, They're hoping to get the best for their money. And if you do a good job figuring out their problem in part 1, the need assessment, then you can do a really good job in your presentation. Once you did a really solid sales job in your presentation, director's reel, your professionalism, even your charm and charisma, you can set a quote in part 3. And if your quote is really high, they should still say yes, because you properly put it in their head that that is what you're worth. Remember that. Let's go to part 4. Part 4. This part is called gaining commitment. Now, it's in the title. This is the part where you actually ask for them to purchase something, according to the book. Now, the book says, well, you did a good job in your needs assessment. That's good. You gave a good presentation. Fine. You showed them what you're about. You went to part 3. You met all their objections. Some of their objections could be price. Some of them could be like, well, you know what? Maybe we'll do it later, or usually it's about price because they don't know what you're about. That's why presentation is so important. Now, this final step, if you've finally given them a quote and they haven't said, no, this is way too expensive, it's a yes. Now you have to polish your closing skills, which in the book, they don't like calling it closing skills. They like calling it gaining commitment because they want to think that you're going to get return clients. The way you behave with them now, if you promise here and deliver here, you will get return customers. And that is the essence and the key to a successful video industry for you, for me, for anyone else. Return customers. The final step is very important. If you meet their objections, now it's time for you to ask for payment. And don't let them get cold. Because people are like a fire. You fed them, you made them warm, and you did a lot of process. You put a lot of effort into your sales pitch. If you wait for the next day or a following day, that fire is going to get cold and they're not going to want to close. So you have to start the whole process over again. Remember that I'm simpling down all these steps. Usually they happen really quickly, sometimes in one conversation. Now, I'll give you an example. Hey, Jen. No, it's totally cool. Yeah, I'm just making a YouTube video. You need a video? Sure, I can help you with a video. A price? Well, that depends. Do you want me to fly a helicopter, or do you want a fire? Do you want explosions? Because that's going to cost you $100,000. Obviously, Oh yeah, that's fine. Sure, yeah. Can we get on a Zoom or a phone call so I can figure out what you need and we can go from there? Tuesday work for you? Sure, yeah. Call me at lunchtime. Cool. What's very important is setting the bar high. I know you're joking around and saying, yeah, well, a helicopter is going to cost $100,000. But remember, a client could really love your work and they might think for a second, why not go really big? Why not invest that money? $20,000, $15,000. I'll give that budget. Here you go. This is $10,000. This is what $10,000 in cash looks like. I'll give this to you. Handle the pre-production, script, gather all the people, do the casting, get the production equipment, rent the locations, edit it for me, and deliver the final product. Here's your budget. Anything you don't spend, keep it for yourself. Wouldn't that be nice? But if you're thinking small, if your budget's already there, how are you going to open that opportunity up for yourself? So you have on your website $500 for a video. That's not good. Now you're stuck at $500. One thing I learned that is very important, we're going to leave it off at this. This is going to be the final thing. If you work for broke people, nothing wrong with being broke, by the way. But for this example, if you work with broke people, they know more broke people. So the referrals you're going to get are broke people. For instance, if you do a video for Joe for free, his friend Steve heard that you do free videos. He doesn't want to pay you. He's going to be like, well, this guy's cool. He does free videos. Maybe I'll just pay him a little bit. Maybe I'll pay him $100. If you do a video for a rich guy or a rich woman, someone successful, and they pay you 10 grand, you better believe they have other friends that will be willing to pay you twice as much if you do a good job. You work with broke people, you will get broke people. If you work with rich, successful, nice people, you will get nice people. Now, make friends with who you want, but this is business. And I'm not making this stuff up. Get this book, read it. There's so many things that you can implement in an actual business. I know you might, I'm not that good with my presentation skills, but I promise I did a good job in school. And if I could bring that to you, I will. If you want any accounting or investment or how to get a loan, any other kinds of stuff like that, I studied it and I can help you. But I hope you understand that from now on, don't put your video in one package and learn how to, number one, understand your customer. Listening is key. Number two, respond with those problems in mind. So if you can give a really good presentation in part 2, you will be able to quote in part 3, so they won't have any objections. That's too expensive, I'll do it later. That's because you didn't do a good job in part 2. And part 4, you're going to conclude. Say, hey, look, since you, me and you, we talked about it. Are you ready to commit? Get the word. Make them say yes. They're like, sure. Be like, okay, fine. I'll just make an invoice right now. I'll send it to you. Please do a 25% deposit. There you go. When they make the deposit, it's done. You just made your sale. The most important thing after that is don't let them get cold. If you lose the closing, if you lose the sale, that's because you didn't do good enough job in parts 1, 2, and 3. So remember, close the deal in that conversation. The more you practice, the better you'll get. Try to figure out your value. Thank you so much for being here today. I hope I taught you a few things. And if I didn't, get this book. It will teach you a few things. Peace.